Okay, we are back. I'm very happy to have Susan Fowler on the Goldstein on Gelt Show. She's an expert in the field of leadership. In fact, she's the best-selling co-author of a number of books with Ken Blanchard, but most recently she has written another best-selling book called Why Motivating People Doesn't Work and What Does. Susan, I'm very motivated to have you on the show today.
Well, you're always motivated. The question is, why? But thank you. Hi, Doug.
So, okay, let's cut to the chase. Why, as a leader, I own my own company, and a lot of the people I work with are leaders in their own companies. And one of the biggest discussions we have, I would say complaints, but let's just say discussions, is how can you motivate people to do something?
Yeah, and the thing is that, and that's why we titled the book, Why Motivating People Doesn't Work. You can't motivate anyone. And the idea is that people are already motivated. People are always motivated. They may just not be motivated the way you want them to be or the way you are. And so what we really need to understand is that at all times, people have a certain quality of motivation. So one of the examples that I was just working with an organization on was they were implementing a new software application for gathering sales information. It's called Salesforce. And it was like pulling teeth to get their salespeople to actually enter their data in every week. And so, they were saying, well, how do we motivate them to do that? And I said, they are motivated. It's just they're not motivated the way you want them to be motivated. So like one guy was doing it, but he was really resentful. Like when I talked to him, he said, the only reason I'm doing anything is because I want to get my manager off my back. Another person was not doing it because she said, this is really stupid. They want me to have really good relationships with my clients. I would rather spend time with my clients than in front of the computer. And then someone else was actually entering the data in, and she was saying, I really feel like I want to make a contribution to the organization, and I realized that when I enter data into the computer, in the software program, that I am actually giving them the information that my organization needs to understand the pipeline and that they can do more accurate forecasting and planning, and ultimately that's going to help me and everybody that is in the organization. So you have these people, some of whom are actually doing what they've been asked to do, but not doing it with the right kind of quality of motivation. So their creativity is probably not as good. Their quality of what they're doing is not as good. You have someone who's not doing it, but they think they're not doing it for the right reasons. And you have someone who's doing it for reasons that probably are fairly conscientious and sustainable.
Right. So, we like her, that last one.
Yeah.
Her reason was good. Right. So how do we get more of her?
Yeah, exactly. And so what we really, I think this bold statement that I want to make, and that is that motivation is a skill. And what's really exciting about the new science of motivation is that because we now realize that motivation is not a quantity of something that someone has, it is a quality of reasons of why they're acting or not acting. And so if leaders can have what I call motivational outlook conversations with people to understand, it's not you're doing it or you're not doing it, it's why are you doing it or not doing it? And why do you have the energy, or why don't you have the energy around this? And let's have that conversation. Because energy and intention and values, these are all things that leaders can facilitate people's awareness about and actually help people shift if they're so inclined.
So it sounds to me like one of the things, I just have to ask because my guess is you're going to say no way, but one of the ways that managers often try to motivate their teams is by giving them money. They'll say, listen, if you open a new account, you'll get $100. And they come up with all of these formulas, but ultimately they seem to fail. Is that because they're not explaining the why behind what they're doing?
That's such a great question. And can I just start at a beginning before I answer the last question? And that is, it does motivate people when you give them money or incentives or rewards. It does motivate them. The question is, why does it motivate them? And so if I'm motivated by money, that means I'm not motivated by the actual task that I'm being asked to do. And if that's the case, then I have to keep getting more money. And at some point, that money becomes just kind of an expectation. And so you have to keep upping the ante because you have distracted me from the task you're asking me to do by focusing on the money or the reward or the incentive. And it could be something intangible like power or status or praise, as well as something tangible like money and incentives. And so what we really want to help people to do is to say, why would I want to do this task? And I think one of the mistakes that leaders often do, and especially entrepreneurs, is they try to tell me why they think I should do it because it's based on some value they have, rather than having the conversation with me to help me understand what values I might have connected to the task they're asking me to do. So I guess the reason I'm going so long here, but you said, so should leaders explain to me why they want me to do this? They can do that, but the real conversation they need to have is, why would I want to do it? What values do I have? What sense of purpose do I have that I can connect or link or align with what it is you're asking me to do?
Mm-hmm. We're talking with Susan Fowler, who is the best-selling author of Why Motivating People Doesn't Work and What Does, along with a number of other books. She's connected with the Ken Blanchard organization. She's been talking to us a little bit about motivating people at work. And, Susan, as you're talking to me, I'm beginning to think of some of the conversations that I sometimes have with clients in my day job. In my day job, I'm a financial advisor. And I don't try to motivate people and say, hey, listen, if you save, $100 a week, and I don't do it with charts because I think that doesn't speak to people. But I really try to listen to the clients and get them talking about what their long-term goals and dreams are. And the way you're describing it, I'm realizing that there's really a vocabulary for the technique that I'm doing, which is getting people to kind of self-motivate. But can you describe more how you can help people to self-motivate? What are the tools that a leader or a financial planner or an author or a parent might need in order to help people really motivate themselves?
Well, again, wonderful question, Doug. And what gets me so excited about the new science of motivation is that the reason we have been so dependent on trying to force feed motivation to people through incentives and carrots and sticks or whatever is because we have never understood the true nature of human motivation until now. And so what we now understand is that there are three basic psychological needs that every human being has, regardless of gender, generation, culture, race, whatever. And those three psychological needs are really at the heart of human thriving. So when people feel a sense of autonomy, in other words, they feel like they have some choices, they feel like they are that they are the source of their actions. They have a perception of choice. When they have a sense of relatedness, in other words, it's more than the social media type of connection, but social media is a demonstration of how people yearn for connection. But relatedness is having relationships with people that are meaningful, that don't have ulterior motives, and also having a sense of purpose, having a sense that they're contributing to something greater than themselves. All of that is a sense of relatedness. That's one of our basic psychological needs. And our third psychological need is for competence. And that is to feel like we're growing and learning every day, that every step we take, it's a step towards mastering what's happening to us, being able to cope effectively with what life throws at us. And so when I think about what you're doing when you are advising people on their finances, you're saying you have choices. You can save or you don't have to save. And if you save or if you invest, you have choices about how to do that. So you're giving me a sense of autonomy. It's also a choice to be be financially solvent. It's a choice to not be in debt. And when I get in touch with the choice I have around that, I mean, I can remember personally that was the day I said I have a choice to live in debt, or I have a choice to climb out of the hole and never go back in that hole again. And I can to this day remember the liberation I felt when I realized that. It was huge, and I've never been in debt. Knock on wood, a day in my life since.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. And then that sense of relatedness that I can contribute. I have to tell you, the greatest joy I get in the world today is being able to give to certain charities, to be able to help my nephew when he's struggling, to be able to help my gardener's daughter attend college and just graduated in biochem. I mean, she's amazing. And because I have taken my finances into my own hands, I now have a sense of relatedness. I can contribute to something greater than myself. I can have meaningful ways to spend my money. It's just so joyful. And what I realized is that early on, I didn't have the competence to actually do this. I didn't know how to save money. I didn't know how to make money. And so I needed help. I needed to study that because that was the part that was missing, was a sense of competence at actually being good with money. I still don't know how to balance my checkbook, but I found competence in other areas through other means, and that's what you're providing to people. So as a leader, as an advisor, the more that you can help people have a sense of their own autonomy, the more that you can help them see that what they do could be linked to developed values, that it's related, it's aligned to things that are meaningful, and that they could have a sense of competence. I have to tell you, when I don't have to struggle with money every day, of course I don't have everything I want in the world, but I have a sense of financial security. It actually makes me feel like I can cope in the world differently than when I was always very, very poor. Because I grew up without money. I grew up with struggling with that my whole life. So anyway, I love what you're doing, because what you're really doing is helping people satisfy their psychological needs.
Right, and I actually like the way that you're describing it. And now that you're saying, you are giving me, Susan, a great deal to think about, because as I have these conversations with clients, and I would certainly encourage people who are listening and dealing with their own investments to think about not only the autonomy that they have in making their choices, but within their own family unit, sharing those choices and letting everyone get involved, and certainly even in the way that you teach your children. Susan, these are great ideas. Unfortunately, we are just about out of time, and I want to encourage people to learn more from you. So in the last few seconds, tell us, how can people follow you, follow your work, and get some of your great books?
Thank you. I really hope they will, because we're doing some wonderful work around motivation. I have a website. It's pretty easy. It's www.susanfowler.com. And if you go to that website, there's blogs, but there's also extraordinary resources there. For example, there's a motivational outlook assessment. I would encourage your listeners that if they are looking at a certain investment, fill out the motivational outlook assessment regarding that investment. It's not just what you're investing in, it's why you're investing in it that's going to make a difference to how successful you are. And also my book, Why Motivating People Doesn't Work and What Does, is available on Amazon. But I also have a book site. You can find that at susanfowler.com as well. And you can download a free chapter or two. And there's other really wonderful resources, like links to my Harvard Business Review article on why we need to let go of Maslow, for example. And that's been a really popular blog. So I hope people will seek out those resources.
All right, we will put links to those at the show notes of today's show at goldsteinongelt.com. Susan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
You are listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world, but if you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt Show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt Show.